Well, welcome along, everybody, to Circuit Zolder here in Belgium for what will be coming up round 9 of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. It's the final weekend of racing in the regular season before we go to Vallelunga for the Italian NASCAR Grand Prix. And of course, that final weekend of racing, the final weekend of racing this season, will be double points. So this is the last weekend where it's standard points before we head to the playoffs. So it's great to be back. Belgium's first purpose-built racing circuit. It was always a bustling national venue, and it soon became established on the national racing scene, hosting 2- and 4-wheeled races, Formula 2 races being the highlight in the early era. Construction started in 1962, the circuit opened in 1963, and after those early Formula 2 races where Denny Hulme winning from the Belgian driver Lucien Bianchi, one of the corners is named after him, that was in 1964. Well, Sir Jack Brabham took the spoils in 1966. And other notable winners, the likes of John Surtees and the late great Jochen Rindt as well in the early days. On to the 1970s, Formula 5000 paid their first visit. The first visit for Formula 1 was in 1973. The last visit, of course, for Formula 1 coming in 1984. And as for EuroNASCAR, well, the first time the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series visited circuit Zolder was in 2015. It is great to be back at this fantastic venue, and the crowds have flocked in their thousands over the course of this weekend. It's great to see them back. They weren't allowed into the venue last year, but it's great to see the crowds back here. If it's a circuit you're not familiar with, then let's just have a quick look at the layout of the circuit. It's quite a tight and technical, twisty circuit with various chicanes to slow the drivers down. And as they will head around this circuit, then let's just have a look. It's 4 kilometres. It's just under 2.5 miles. It's actually 2.485, but 2.5 miles, absolutely. And 11 key corners to it, and some heavy braking areas as well. Turn 1, Erst, very difficult to get right. You've got the cleaner chicane, which is a very fast chicane, but needs dealing with. You can hop over the curbs there, but be careful not to damage the car. And over the top at Sacrament-Selling and in towards the braking area for turn number 7, the Villeneuve chicane. We're going to see lots of action there. The main overtaking point, probably turn 9, I would say, which is Jochen Rindt boxed and in towards Boulderberg boxed. So those are the main key areas of the circuit, but wonderful it is to be back here, and we are going to see 18 laps for this EuroNASCAR Pro race here. So that's the way that the circuit looks. In terms of the format, if you're not familiar with it for the weekend, well, as I say, it is the last round of the regular season before we run in towards the playoffs, which will be double points. So for this weekend, the format sees today qualifying having taken place for EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2. You can catch up with some of that online at EuroNASCAR.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. But we've got both races coming up for you live over the course of today. One for EuroNASCAR Pro. Later on this afternoon, we'll see EuroNASCAR 2. And then we'll also bring you tomorrow's races as well. EuroNASCAR 2 will start our racing action tomorrow before we then head towards our final race of the weekend for EuroNASCAR Pro. So that's the format of the weekend. And certainly, compared to other years, weather-wise here in this part of Belgium this weekend, absolutely beautiful. You can see, while some spectators have jackets on, most others are simply in short sleeves. It's a beautifully warm autumn day here. There is hardly a cloud in the sky, and that is in stark contrast probably to most other times we've visited Belgium, where it's been rather wet to say the least. So it's great that we've got so many thousands and thousands of fans, and the VIPs able to take part in the VIP grid walk as well. It's great to see motorsport generally now starting to return back to some sort of normality after the difficulties globally that we've had since the start of 2020 with the pandemic. So that's guided you as to how the weekend format is. In terms of the championship points at the moment, let's just have a quick look at what's going on in the championship. Well, as I say, because it is the regular season, 40 points for a win, 35 for second, 34 for third, and so on and so on. Those extra 4 points could be critical for the driver that gains the most places from their starting position to their finishing position in each race. An extra 4 points go that way, but that's in the regular season. Next time out at Vallelunga, just look at that, 80 points for a race win in both of the races there, and that is usually where the championship is won and lost at the finals weekend. The one thing you can do also is you can drop your 2 worst scores from the regular season. So up until the end of this weekend, when we get to the end of this weekend, that's the cut-off point. You look back at what's happened so far this season, you drop your 2 worst scores, and therefore that can bring other drivers that might be a little bit further down the championship order back into the mix again as they drop their worst scores of the season. So that's how the point scoring works. Let's have a quick look at how the point standings are coming into this weekend, because it's quite important that the man who tops the championship, Loris Hasemans, is not here this weekend. He is opting to race in the Xfinity Series race at the Roval at Charlotte this weekend. But the reason he's doing that is because even though he's not here this weekend, if he drops his 2 worst scores, which would be this weekend 2 zeros, he is still mathematically going to be leading the championship going into the finals weekend. Vittorio Garelli in second place can close the gap on him. But regardless of what happens this weekend, Vittorio Garelli and Gianmarco Urcoli, who's third in the championship, and Nicola Rocca cannot overtake Loris Hasemans. So the Dutchman would still be leading the championship with Garelli, Urcoli and Nicola Rocca, the 3 Italians there in second, third and fourth place. Luca Lacera, double former champion, is jointly in 5th place with Alain Day, the reigning champion, who's had a bit of a difficult season, really, Alain Day. So he'll be hoping for a better weekend here. And also just have a quick look at what's happening in terms of the subcategory. So Gianmarco Urcoli is comfortably leading the junior category in EuroNASCAR Pro. That's for drivers aged under 25 at the beginning of the season. And Yevgen Sokolovsky is only just by a single point leading the Challenger Trophy from Henry Tuamala, and that is for amateur drivers. They're down, as you can see, in 11th and 12th place overall in the championship, just 1 single point separating them. That is for amateur drivers that compete at the top level of NASCAR, EuroNASCAR Pro. So that gives you an idea of just how close the championship is. And we know it's only going to get closer this weekend because Loris Hasemans, we wish him all the very best as he races in Xfinity this evening over on the Charlotte Roval, looking to further increase his experience on the American scene, but always good to see him here in Europe. But yeah, with a double clash, I can understand it, absolutely. He is still going to be leading the championship going into the finals weekend, and that will be important for Loris Hasemans. So the crowd are slowly being asked to leave the grid. The grid is starting to get clear of all of the main officials. The fantastic viewing areas as well here on the start-finish line, in particular at Zolder, where you can stand in the elevated positions and look just straight down on the pit lane and straight down on the grid. It really does give you some wonderful, wonderful viewing points on the start-finish line. And even if you wander off into the wooded areas as well and spectate from, say, in the inside of the circuit round by the Villeneuve chicane, again, just wonderful. You get a real sense of the history of this circuit. It really is a wonderful, wonderful historic circuit, and one that hasn't changed. You know, it's an old school circuit. Yes, you could say that maybe some things maybe need refreshing and renewing, but I love the feel of Zolder. It is one of my favourite European venues, and we considerably look forward to maintaining this as our Belgium round. Let's hope so, as and when the full calendar continues to be released over the course of the next coming weeks, we'll see it out there. So, with cars on the grid, we've had a look at the way that the weekend format works. We've had a look at the point standings. Maybe we should look back at what has happened so far in the 2021 championship season. So let's look back at some of the highlights from the racing that we've already had this year. Well, the opening rounds of the championship came at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Spain, where Loris Hasemans went towards victory lane and claimed his first of 2 race wins that weekend. It was on to Brands Hatch next, where Alain Day and Loris Hasemans were again fighting it out. Alain Day claiming victory in the first race of the weekend, the 25th of his career. But in the second race of the weekend, it would be Loris Hasemans that would go back towards victory lane, a win apiece in the UK. Next up, it was on to Most in the Czech Republic, and in awful, awful conditions, it was Alain Day that came through to win. All the cars started on slick tyres. Everybody had to change to wet, but for Alain Day and Cal Racing, they came out on top. And in the second race of the weekend, it all looked as though it was going the way of Vittorio Garelli, who claimed his first win in EuroNASCAR Pro, the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion. Next up, it was on to Grobnik in the Croatian capital, and it was a great race that was going on with wheel-to-wheel battles. Gianmarco Ercoli looking to try and overhaul Loris Hazemans, but on the charge up towards the checkered flag, whilst Ercoli would take the flag first, the victory went the way of Loris Hazemans because of a start line infringement for Gianmarco Ercoli, which meant for the second race of the weekend, Ercoli would want to put right that mistake, and again, it was wheel-to-wheel between Loris Hazemans, Alan Day and Gianmarco Ercoli, but it would eventually be Gianmarco Ercoli that would take up the lead of the race, whilst Alan Day edged his way through up into second on the road, but then had some problems, ran wide and dropped himself down through the order. So it would be Ercoli that would come through and claim another win in Euro NASCAR Pro, but it was still enormous amounts of pressure going on behind him as Luca Lasserre got together with Jacques Villeneuve, pitching Villeneuve off and into the gravel trap and all the way down through the order. So Ercoli on course for a win, and he did exactly that. Came home to claim a win in Euro NASCAR Pro. He was absolutely delighted with that, and it made up for that mistake on the day prior. So there we go. That's what's happened so far this season. We're about 4 minutes away from the national anthems being played. Hopefully we'll also get the opportunity to catch up with our top 3 drivers after qualifying as well, in what was a very close qualifying affair over the course of this morning. I'll apologise in advance, ladies and gentlemen, because of the way that technically we're working with all of the support races this weekend at Circuit Zolder, which are all being filmed but not necessarily all being broadcast. It does mean that we might not be able to bring you that many graphics over the course of the weekend. Apologies for that. We'll try and work on improving that situation for tomorrow. It also means that when it gets to the podium presentations, we should get a chat with the race winner in Victory Lane. We might not be able to hang around for the podium presentations, because if the next support race is heading towards circuit, we'll have to just kill that stream a little bit earlier so that their particular race can be broadcast not just out on the internet potentially, but ever more so to the spectators here at the venue as well, who get the large television screens showing them what's going on around this circuit. So the grid is formed up. We can see that the sun is still shining. What's happened previously in Belgium, well, the most winningest driver we've had in Belgium is Alan Day. Now, he starts from the outside of the front row of the grid. Alan has claimed 6 career wins in this country alone, all of them coming at Circuit Zolder. He claimed a double win in 2015. He won the first of the 2 races in 2017. He did a double in 2018. He didn't win either race in 2019, but he did win last year, making it 6 wins in total for Alan Day so far this year. The driver that lines up alongside him and is on pole position is a driver that you may well be familiar with if you've watched EuroNASCAR in previous years, because he's a former EuroNASCAR 2 champion and is a driver who has won races at this very circuit in EuroNASCAR Pro. That is Stinis Longin. So he is back in the championship for the first time this season, this weekend, driving for PK Carsport, a circuit that he knows well. That is why he is on pole position. He has had a win here before in EuroNASCAR Pro. That was in 2019, but he did also win a race in EuroNASCAR 2 in 2016 as well. So both drivers on the front row of the grid have had wins here in the past. Other drivers that have won here in the past and are on the grid, well, Mark Goossens, who lines up 5th on the grid and is driving this weekend, making his debut for Cal Racing, got offered the opportunity to race for Cal. I thought, well, why not? Cal are a team that have claimed championships with Alan Day, amongst other drivers. It's my home NASCAR Grand Prix, let's have a go. So Mark Goossens was a winner of one of the races in 2017. So he's another driver to watch out for. And other drivers on the grid who have won races here, but they did it back when they were racing in EuroNASCAR 2. I mentioned Stinis Longin, but Gianmarco Ercoli, who is on the grid and lines up in 6th position. He had a couple of wins here back in 2015 when he was in EuroNASCAR 2. And also Martin Dubeck, who this weekend is driving in both EuroNASCAR 1 and EuroNASCAR 2. His number 7, Hendrix Ford, lines up 9th on the grid. Martin won both of the races in EuroNASCAR 2 here last year as well. So that's another driver that is well worth watching out for. And all of those winning drivers, I think, largely in the past have had pole positions and fastest laps as well. There's only one driver, I think, on the grid who's had a pole and a fastest lap, but has never won here, and that will be Giorgio Maggi. So here we go. We'll remain quiet for the national anthems. So there we go, national anthems being played on the build-up to round 9 of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. We're mentioning drivers that have been successful here in the past, but I think I just about almost finished about one of the drivers who's on the grid, who's had a pole here in a fastest lap here, but has never won, and that's Giorgio Maggi. He did that back in 2019 when he was racing in EuroNASCAR 2. So of all of the drivers that is probably overdue a win, you could argue it is Giorgio Maggi. But he's going to have to do that from 10th on the grid if he wants to make it stick, because that is where he qualified over the course of this morning. So the final few representatives about to be cleared onto the grid. And then in about 5 minutes' time, we should get those infamous words. But one thing that we can do in the meantime is we can catch up with some of the drivers after qualifying to see how they got on.
I'm really happy, especially here in Zolder, to come back after a few races I missed, so yeah.
Stinus Langer, pole position in your first race in 2021 at your home track. It's like you've never been out of the series in this year. What did you do and how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling really happy, and especially here in Zolder, you know, I know the track really well. I drove 24 hours here 2 weeks ago, so that is no issue. We tested a lot here with the car in the previous seasons, so that's why I think we're fast. We still drive the same setup as last year. We tried some changes, but at the end it was just the same as last year, so really happy.
All right, thank you so much and good luck in the race.
Thank you.
On a day, solid qualifying session, are you happy?
No, not really. Yeah, we had a lot of problems again. Fortunately, this is really unlucky season for us, but we'll try to do the best in the race. Overall, it's quite disappointing to be qualifying. Hopefully, the race will be good.
All right, thank you. A solid third place in the qualifying session. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm totally happy. You know, we worked very well since Valencia. I think the problem at Rijeka during the Saturday night, and since this Sunday, the last Sunday, my pace and my race pace is very, very strong. So I did, a good job to prepare the car for the quali, and I need a little bit of work now to adapt for the race pace. We'll see, but I'm totally happy with my team, crew, and good job.
All right, thank you so much and good luck in the race.
Thank you.
So good to hear from Stinus Longines, from Alan Day and from Luca Lasser there after qualifying. Now, I mentioned earlier on that Stinus Longines returns to the championship this weekend for the first time since his previous exploits here in 2019, wasn't it, for Stinus? He is non-championship scoring this weekend. That news has only just been brought to me. I asked the question earlier on, were all drivers championship scoring this weekend? And yes, it would appear that Stinus is not going to be scoring championship points this weekend. So Alan Day, in theory, could afford to settle for second if Stinus is ahead and still pick up the maximum championship points, is my understanding of the way the regulations are and the restrictions that Stinus is driving on under this weekend. He's a very, very quick driver, Stinus Longines. It's great to see him back in the series. That number 11 Cal Racing Chevy having qualified on pole this morning. He mentioned earlier on, you know, he was racing in the Zolder 24 hours just a few weekends ago. He's done a lot of racing in Belcar generally over the last few years. He was racing in the European GT2 Championship last weekend, wasn't it? The weekend before. Didn't quite happen for him in the race, but for a driver that finished 8th in EuroNASCAR Pro last year, rather, he did do the full season last year, was runner-up in 2019, junior champion in 2017. He was the EuroNASCAR 2 champion in 2016. He is still only, 30 years of age, is Stinus Longines. And he's a driver that is not going to be short of support over the course of this weekend. The Belgian crowd will for sure be cheering him on in this race. They will be cheering on, I'm sure, Mark Goossens in this race in the number 56 Cal Racing Ford for this weekend. And another driver that's certainly not going to be short of support is young, 19-year-old Simon Palat for DF1 Racing, the number 66 car that he is racing this weekend in both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2 again. So he's a driver also that is going to gain plenty of support, I'm sure, Simon Palat. So let's just have a quick look to see. Now, did Simon actually qualify in that car? He was originally shown on the entry list for EuroNASCAR Pro, but no, did not qualify it, so no. he'll be getting cheered on in just EuroNASCAR 2 that by the look of things he's just competing in for this weekend. So plenty of families here, plenty of young fans enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the build up to round 9 of the championship. The Grand Marshal will be on the grid, and very shortly, if we've got the audio for it, there's a few small audio issues that I'm just having from my UK-based studio. Hopefully we will get the opportunity to hear those words from the Grand Marshal. You probably will. I might not at my end, unless we can sort a few little small audio issues out. So apologies, that was why I just slightly overran on the national anthems, because there was no audio at my end. You can see just the last few team members are on the grid. All the VIPs have now left. I will guide you through the grid as and when the cars head off onto their final formation lap, which will be one final tour of the 4-kilometre circuit to try and build that little bit of temperature into the Hoosier tyres that they all run for this weekend. And they will look to see as to who might come out on top in the 9th round of the championship, particularly bears to be mentioning. He's opted to do that because he knows mathematically whatever happens here, he will still be the EuroNASCAR Pro Championship leader heading into the finals weekend at Vallelunga in Italy, just outside of Rome. And that's where we'll be in just, 3 weekends' time. We'll be out there for the final championship round of what's been a season that's just flashed by, really, from Spain to the UK to Czechia to Croatia and then on to Italy. So it sounds as though engines have now been started. Again, no audio of that at my end, so I could not hear the Grand Marshal. I do apologise. And then, now that we've got all the cars fired up, they'll be about to head round a final 4-kilometre or 2.485 mile lap of Circuit Zolder, with its 9 key corners and, well, plenty of excitement, I'm sure, to come up over the course of this 18-lap race that we'll be seeing very, very shortly. So, drivers just doing the final radio checks with the team and the spotters just to make sure that everything is as should be. And then, once the green flag is waved, they will be off and on to a final formation lap with still work to do. So there we go. Let's then guide you through the grid for this 9th round of the championship. No graphic for the grid, but let me guide you through it. Number 11, Stenis Longines in the PK Car Sport Chevy on the front row of the grid on pole position. Alongside him is Alon Day for Cal Racing. So it's an all Chevy front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid, the first of the Fords, Luca Lasser, the number 64 car for Speedhouse Racing, has alongside him another Ford, but it's the number 50 Ford of Vittorio Gurelli that sits alongside the Hendricks machine, and it is the number 50 Hendricks Ford that leads the team's championship when you add up the points from both drivers in both divisions. Row 3 of the grid, number 56, moving over to Cal Racing for this weekend, the Ford of local star Mark Goossens has for company the number 54 car, his teammate for this weekend, Gianmarco Ercoli, with the Cal Racing Chevy. Gianmarco Ercoli is the leading junior driver at those aged under 25 that we have on the grid. And row 4 of the grid is number 22, the Italian driver Nicola Rocca for DF1 Racing, and alongside him is number 5, having a great qualifying session in the Academy Stroke Alex Caffey Motorsport car, is Patrick Lamery. The 5th row of the grid, Hendricks Motorsport, Martin Dubeck at his Ford has alongside his teammate, number 18, the Swiss driver Giorgio Maggi with his Hendricks Ford. Giorgio is the 2nd of the junior drivers we've got on the grid. And row 6 of the grid is number 46, new to the championship for this weekend. Welcome along at the wheel of his Marco Steep Motorsport Chevrolet Camaro. It is Pierre Combu who has for company car number 89, the Not Only Motorsport Chevrolet Camaro of Davide Dallara. Davide Dallara is the leading challenger driver, amateur driver, that we have on the grid. The next row of the grid is row number 7, 23, Henry Tuamala, lines up alongside 10, Ulysse Delso. Row 8 is 69, Sebastian Bliki-Molen, alongside number 9, Leonardo Colavita. The 9th row of the grid sees number 48, Yevgen Sokolovsky, line up alongside number 8, which is Dario Carzo. Row 10 of the grid is number 44, Ian Eric Varden, lining up alongside number 90. Nice to see him back in the series again this weekend, Nicola Gabosi. And the 11th and final row of the grid, number 2, Federico Monti, and having had power issues with the car and therefore only turned a couple of laps in qualifying. Watch out for that number 12 car off the back of the grid. It is the Solaris Motorsport Chevy in the hands of Francesco Sini that starts off the very, very back of the grid. He wasn't the only car, though, to have problems in qualifying, because the Number 8, Victor Motorsport, Chevrolet Camaro of Dario Carzo, stopped out on track somewhere with an engine issue, just couldn't get that car fired. So he did eventually do about 9 laps, but didn't take part in all of the session. So it wasn't just Francesco Cini that ran into problems, but both of those cars were fixed for the qualifying session for the EuroNASCAR 2 drivers. So the cars will now be getting themselves into 2x2 order, ready for the start of this race as they head out of Jochen Rinckbocht and up the straight in towards the final left and right flicks of the Jackie X chicane. So the safety car will peel its way into pit lane entry, and then Stinis Longines and Alain Day will hold their position and get ready to go racing for the first time this weekend here at Circuit Zolder. So buckle up, everybody. Round 9 of the 2021 EuroNASCAR Pro Division is about to go green here at Circuit Zolder. Stinis Longines on the right of your screens on pole position, and as the lights go out, they charge their way up towards Urs, the first corner. Stinis Longines just with his nose ahead of Alain Day, who's got to driver's left. Luca Lasserre looking to try and squeeze his way through. Did the Frenchman make it through and ahead of the champion? Somebody running a little bit wide there, and all over the grass will be able to rejoin. That's Dario Carzo. That might have caused damage to the front of his Chevy. He has dropped to the very tail end of the field as a result of that rally crossing moment, but it is Stinis Longines that leads the way as they head and the speeds start to build round through Canal Bocht and then up towards Lucien Bianchi Bocht, which is turn number 4 here, and then from there down the straight and in towards the cleaner chicane. It is Stinis Longines that leads. Off has gone Yevgen Sokolovsky, I'm afraid, and that is going to cause problems. That is at turn number 4, Lucien Bianchi Bocht, where he's had a spin on the way into the corner by the look of things, and that car is stricken in the gravel, and I'm afraid in the hands of the Ukrainian it is going nowhere at all, I'm afraid. So that could bring about an early full course caution. We'll have to wait and see. Cars, the rest of them, all turning their way through the Villeneuve chicane and up towards Telemann Bocht, which is a fast right-hand corner as the speeds start to build again down in towards the braking area for Boulderberg Bocht, with Stinis Longines still leading Alain Day from Luca Lasserre. Then it looks as though it is Gianmarco Ercoli who's up into 4th position from 6th on the grid. So that's been a great start to the race from the Italian, and contact further back, I'm afraid. Off goes Henry Tuamala, off goes the number 44 car of Ian-Eric Bardem, and also someone else got tangled up in that, and that now is without question going to bring about the safety car. Loads of damage to the front and the rear of the DF1 Racing Chevrolet Camaro of Ian-Eric Bardem, and he got tangled up there with Henry Tuamala, his teammate, and another car as well, which is leaving the scene. So there is Ian-Eric Bardem. Such a shame for the Finn. He will be out of the race, and for Yevgen Sokolovsky, who got caught in the gravel trap, and Henry Tuamala, who was also tangled up, both of those drivers at the sharp end of the Challenger Trophy standings as well. So that could really open up the door a little bit to Davide De Lara this weekend. So there's Sokolovsky's car. That's going nowhere, I'm afraid. No real damage to the Chevy. Didn't quite see what happened, but the pack of cars going through now. There's Ian-Eric Bardem, safely out of the number 44 car, having got tangled up in an incident that's damaged both the front and the back of his car. Back of it's fairly superficial, just the composite bodywork that's been ripped away from the mounting points on the chassis, but the front of it looked slightly more cause for concern, I would have thought there. So it looked as though maybe an impact to the front has caused problems. Yeah, and who was it that got tangled up? That looks like the car that got tangled up was Leonardo Colavita, I think. Look, yeah, it just looked like it's the number 9 car there that got tangled up with Ian-Eric Bardem. Now they would have been similar positions on the grid. Ian-Eric out of the car and crash helmet off. Marshals, who as ever do a fantastic job of ensuring that we can all go racing and race safely as well. We sincerely, every single meeting, thank our marshals or corner workers, depending on which side of the Atlantic you are. Without them, we could not go racing. It's as simple as that. And as ever, they do a fantastic job of making sure that any incidents are cleared up, making sure that drivers are okay, and yeah, doing all of the sweeping up and tidying up and dragging cars out of gravel traps that need doing. So without them, we couldn't go racing. So hats off to all of our marshals, wherever we are touring around Europe. We couldn't do it without them. So Yevgen Sokolovsky's car being moved out of harm's way, and it looks as though that is going to be pulled back towards the entrance to Lucien Bianchi Bocht, where hopefully there's a gap in the wall where they can tuck the car behind. So we'll have a further lap behind the safety car, as the safety car came out really at the end of lap number 1 as well. There might be a little bit of reordering needs doing. If that's the case, that is somewhat going to hamper the efforts of Mark Goossens and Gianmarco Ercoli, both of whom had a really good start, hadn't they? Both of the Cal Racing cars, the yellow and black cars, running nose to tail in the race. So I think I said it was Ercoli with a good start. I think it's Mark Goossens, and Ercoli has probably held station, actually, by the look of things. So used to see Mark in his DF1 racing colours for this year. Of course, he has moved over to Cal Racing for what is a one-off deal at the moment for this weekend. So Stinis Longines leads under safety car. Alan second. Station. Nicola Roca. 8th is 5, which is Patrick Lamery. 9th is number 7, Martin Dubec, and completing the top 10 at the moment is the second of the junior drivers we have in the field, that being the number 18, Hendrix Ford of Giorgio Maggi. Outside of the top 10 then, in 11th is Ulysse Delceau, 12th is Sebastian Bleeky-Molen, 13th is the leading challenger driver that we've got, which is number 89, Davide De Lara. 14th is the second of the challenger drivers, having a great debut weekend, Pierre Combeau, who is there in 14th. Francisco Cini is already up to 15th from 22nd on the grid, so that was a really good start. I did say watch out for that number 12 Solaris Motorsport car. He has made very okay. And then it is Dario Carzo in 16th, Nicola Gabose in 17th, Federico Monti and Henry Tuamala. Cars that have not made it round, as I suspected. Yeah, Leonardo Colavita is in the pit lane still at the moment. I think his car was the car that was crabbing its way back, having got tangled up with that incident that involved himself and Tuamala, Andy and Eric Varden. And the other two cars that are out, of course, is Sokolowski and Varden. So that is the full running order as things stand at the moment. See how many more places the number 12 can gain. Dario Carzo, the number 8, who ran wide at turn 1 and dropped to the back, has already picked a few more cars off. But we are at the moment now 2 laps completed. So a little bit of reordering needing to be doing, so the restart for this race is back as per the original positions that cars were in. So that does mean that unfortunately all of that hard work done by Francesco Cini to haul his way up into 15th place is all going to get undone, rather, because the information from race control and the officials is that we are reordering back to the original starting positions. So poor old Cini will be back towards the tail end of the field again, and the Italian will have it all to do again. So back over the start-finish line, another lap completed. So this will be 3 laps of the scheduled 18 now done. We do have the capacity to have green-white checkers in this series if deemed appropriate by race officials. Now there is only 1 overtime finish within the regulations, and there is a maximum of 1 attempt at an overtime finish. I mean, we're a long, long way from needing an overtime finish yet, but if towards the end of the race we were to get a similar length of safety car period, there's always the capacity to have an overtime finish. At the moment, what will be happening is that race control will just making sure that the order is good in the field. So it's taking about 3 minutes to do a lap behind the safety car. 3¼ minutes it was last time through to do a lap behind the safety car. Flying laps in qualifying, we're down in the 1:36s, so you can see just how slow the pace is behind the safety car. But that's a good thing, because the slower the pace, it means less laps behind the safety car get ticked off. So it's not a bad thing that the safety car is going slow. And also, if there are incidents being cleared up as well by marshals that might be working trackside, then again the field of cars going past slowly is a much safer environment for them to work in. So the Whelen lights still on the safety car. They halt to our pure racing for the moment here at round 9 of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. Remember, we have the EuroNASCAR 2 race coming up later on over the course of today. That's scheduled to go live on the stream at 16:50 Central European time. That'll be 15:50 if you're in the UK. Obviously, it'll still be very early in the morning if you're watching Eastern Daylight Time in the US. If you are watching this, thank you for tuning in so early to pick up on what's going on in the top flight of European NASCAR, the EuroNASCAR Pro Division of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. And just awaiting confirmation that the order is good from race control. If it is, we should be good to go green at the end of this lap. If we haven't quite got all of the reordering finished, then we might have to hang on for a further lap. Let's have a quick look. Francesco Cini is towards the tail end of the field. He's got two of the cars behind him though at the moment, one of which looks like it's the number 89 car, was it potentially of Davide Delara, and the other one, by the look of things, is Yevgen Sokolovsky, who was hauled out of the gravel, and obviously there's no damage to the car, so the Ukrainian is continuing in the race for the moment, albeit at the tail end of the field, and of course now off the lead lap as well. So original order, no Locky Dog on this occasion at least, and are we going to get the race back underway? It's Nikola Gabowski that's there at the tail end of the field. Lineup is okay, is information from race control, but I think we are going to get one further lap behind the safety car, so the confirmation was only just received the lineup was good right towards the end of the lap, so it's going to be one further lap behind the safety car, but now we know the lineup is good. This safety car lap should be slightly quicker than the previous ones, so still plenty of weaving being done to try and maintain the tyre temperature in the Hoosier tyres. That safety car lap was about 15 seconds quicker than the previous safety car lap, and this next one I suspect will be even quicker as the mini safety car with its Whelen lights continues around the track. 4 laps now completed of the scheduled 18. It's on to lap number 5, and it will be at the end of lap number 5 when we will see the safety car peel its way back into the pit lane. So the restarting order then, Stinis Longines and Alan Day on the front row of the grid, Luca Lasser and Vittorio Garelli on row number 2. The number 56 of Mark Goosens has the 54, his teammate of Gianmarco Ercoli alongside. Then it's the DF1 Racing number 22 Chevy of Nicola Rocca, ahead of the number 5 of Patrick Lamery on row number 4, and row number 5 we'll see car number 7, the Hendricks Motorsport car of Martin Dubeck alongside his teammate, which will be the number 18 of Giorgio Maggi. That is the starting order, and everybody else now has been shuffled back to where they ought to have been for the very first start at the race. So up towards the cleaner chicane. From there, the circuit starts to climb uphill and turn to the left as they head up Sacrament's Helling, which is Sacrament Slope in reality. And then after they go over the top of the crest, then they start to descend downhill into the braking area for the Villeneuve chicane, named after the late great Gilles Villeneuve, who tragically killed in qualifying at this circuit. What is it, the 8th of May 1982. Jacques Villeneuve, who has been racing with us for the last few years, was only 11 years of age, but very sadly that happened to his father. He wasn't here on that occasion, he was at home at Monaco with his mum, I think, but the Villeneuve chicane named after Gilles Villeneuve. And then after that, they go through Lamaran Bucht up towards Boulderberg Bucht, which is where they're heading now, turn number 12, and then the little kink flat out through turns 13 and 14, which is the little Jochen kink in reality. So it will be a double file restart. The lineup is good. Coming out of this corner, down the straight, they will get themselves into 2x2 order. So you need to be about a metre apart from the car, either to your left or your right, depending on which row of the grid that you are on. You follow the car over the grid hatching, so where the grid hatchings are, that's where the left-hand lane and the right-hand lane have to be, about a metre's gap from the car ahead of you or behind you. And you can only break formation out of those 2 lines of 2 once you've crossed the control line. You can't do it beforehand, so they should go over the grid hatchings, both lines. So this looks like it is a good restart. All of the drivers now understanding the subtle changes we've had to the restart, and it's a really good restart from Stinis Longines, who has already got his nose ahead of Alan Day as they head up towards Erst, which is turn number 1. Luca Lasser slots himself through into 3rd position, and Vittorio Garelli going side by side with the first of the 2 Cal Racing Ford Mustangs over what would be 4th and 5th places. I think it might just be Mark Goosens that had his nose ahead of Garelli, but Garelli will have the inside line for the next corner, so should be able to hang on to it. And they're still side by side for 4th and 5th place, but it's a good restart by everybody by the look of things. The best of restarts, though, from Stinis Longines, who is looking to try and pull away from his arch nemesis over the course of the last few seasons, Alan Day, who's looking to drag it up the inside in towards the cleaner chicane. They lean on each other. Do they give each other enough room? No, there's a yellow flag comes out on the marshal's post, which suggests that they've made contact with each other a little bit. And there is Alan Day in the middle of the circuit with a front right puncture to his car. So there was contact between the pair of them, just missed the shot as it went through. All through the gravel track, we've got somebody also at the Villeneuve chicane. But for Alan Day, who has had no luck really this season, it's either been highs or lows for Alan Day, and that is not what he wanted, particularly with Loris Hazemans not here this weekend. He could have scored good points, but looks as though Stinis Longines is going to now have a handsome lead as he has broken the toe on the cars behind, and he leads at his home NASCAR Grand Prix, having claimed an overall win here in 2019. What can he do a couple of years later? Luca Lasser now is up into second position, and for the double former champion at the wheel of the number 64 Speedhouse prepared car, that would be his first podium of the year, let alone the second spot. He's not even been on the podium so far this year's Luca Lasser, so he heads in the white car through in second place, and third is going to be Vittorio Garelli now, the wheel of the number 50 Ford. As for Alan Day, he will be limping his way back round towards the pit lane, I'm sure. Have a new tyre put on the front right of that car. But that will only be once the team have checked for any further damage. Now, smoke coming off the front corner of Luca Lasser's car. Is that body rub, or is that coming out of the exhaust? If it's coming out of the exhaust, that is big cause for concern. So difficult to tell, but that to me, no, it's just impossible to tell. I'm not going to say. Smoke seems to disappear when he gets part of the way down the straight. Vittorio Garelli side by side with the number 56 car, which is Mark Goosens, who's going to try and get a better exit coming out of the cleaner chicane to try and get a run in towards the Villeneuve chicane. I don't think it's quite going to work for Mark Goosens, who'll be keeping his powder dry here. So Hendricks Ford from Cal Ford for third and fourth place. Nicola Rocca in the Chevy, the white and red number 22 Chevy, bouncing off the curbs behind, and then behind him is going to be Patrick Lamely, I think it will be, that's behind him, Nicola Rocca. So up towards a braking area for Boulder but booked. This is where there are overtaking opportunities if you can get the car close enough, but for Mark Goosens at the moment, he is just content to sit behind Vittorio Garelli and see if he can unlock the door to the podium elsewhere around the lap. All of this playing into the hands beautifully of Stinis Longin, who's breaking away, and also in second place now Luca Lasser, who, despite the little bits of smoke, has got more daylight now between himself and the pair fighting over third and fourth, Garelli and Goosens. So over the start-finish line now come. Stinis Longin leading by 3.1 seconds from Luca Lasser, who's got about a second in hand between himself and this pair here. Vittorio Garelli fighting away with the number 56 Ford of Mark Goosens, moving over to Cal Racing for this weekend, the former winner here at Zolder, back in what was the 2017 visit for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Nicola Rocca, the Italian, in the Chevy, still sitting there in what is fifth position currently. So Chevy from Ford, from Ford, from Ford, from Chevy at the moment. That's the top five. And out of the race, I'm afraid to say, is Gianmarco Ercoli, and that has big implications for him because he was only 32 points off the leader, Loris Hasemans, in the championship. And that is going to be a round that he's going to drop now in reality. So disappointment for the Italian, who was leading the junior category in terms of the championship standings. That's for drivers aged under 25 to enter EuroNASCAR Pro. So the rest of the field threading their way through to Lalaban booked, and then starting to build the speeds again up towards the braking area for the overtaking opportunities at Boulderbert booked, but there's nothing doing as yet still. Garelli still hanging on to third. Mark Goosens still in his shadow in fourth place. The Chevy, number 22 of Nicola Rocca, not too far away. 7 laps have now been completed. Lap number 8 is about to be done and dusted by Stinis Longin, who last time through set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 38.194. And remember, that fastest lap is important because the fastest lap you set in this race gives you the starting grid for tomorrow's race. So that is really good news for Stinis Longin. Alan Day has indeed had a new tyre put on his car, so he is back out there now. Any chance of a race result has gone for their 3 times former champion, number 88. But the Monster Energy back Chevy is back out there. Now what Alan Day will want to do is get a quick lap in. He will want to get a quick lap in because that will give him the grid position for tomorrow. I think another car that's on an out lap as well is Leonardo Colavito. I think we just saw his car coming back out of pit lane. So that is a car that was crabbing its way back in towards the pit lane following an incident on the first lap, and whatever they have done to the car, clearly it's allowing Leonardo to get back out into the race. So third and fourth, bouncing over the curbs through the cleaner chicane. It might be a left and right flick, but it's a very quick one, and amazing photographs we could usually get of the cars being all 4 wheels off the deck there briefly. If you get the curb right, you can launch the car off one curb and onto the next without causing too much damage and without losing any speed. You can see Garelli there a little bit sideways midway through the Villeneuve chicane. Is that the opportunity that Mark Goosens is looking for to try and take the place away from the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion? But, well, at the moment, he's just too far away, I'm afraid. So good driving by the 27-year-old Italian, Vittorio Garelli. former AutoGP champion he was from some years ago, as well as, say, having played the EuroNASCAR 2 title last year. He's got right on his tailpipes Mark Goossens, multiple Bell Car champion, Formula Ford Festival winner, of course, back in 1990s, early 1990s, 1991, I think Mark played the Formula Ford Festival. And having moved over to Cowell for this weekend, good showing at the wheel of the number 56 car. The yellow car, I think, is just dropping a bit further away now from the number 50 Hendricks Ford. So third is Garelli, fourth is the yellow and black Cal Racing machine of local star Mark Goossens. Fifth is still Nicola Rocca, sixth is Patrick Lamery, seventh is number 7, which is Martin Dubeck, eighth is Giorgio Maggi, so he's the leading junior driver we've got in the field at the moment, the number 18 Ford down in 8th place. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen and the leading challenger driver, Davide De Lara, complete the top 10 currently. Now Goossens quicker this time. Now that was coming out of Lucien Bianchi-Vogt, which means, is he going to get a run down towards the cleaner chicane? He's just too far back still. So the nose of the two Fords dipping exactly at the same time. Garelli with a couple of wheels on the dirt going into the corner, just managed to catch it. Loads of arm twirling to try and bring the car back under his spell, but that was a bit of a sideways moment and at speed there, Garelli, as he was desperate to try and hang on to third place and just took a bit too much grass going in towards the corner. Dropped the Hoosier tyres onto it, and you could see as soon as he leant on them, the car just didn't want to turn into the corner. But that was a chink in the armour as far as Mark Goossens is concerned, which means he is not going to let up on the pressure he's applying to the Ford that sits ahead. Equally as much, Goossens needs to be careful, because if he tries something and it doesn't work, Nicola Rocca isn't too far away, and neither is the number 5 car of Patrick Lamery, who I've got to say is having a great weekend now, the 53-year-old. Did really well in qualifying, Patrick Lamery. Managed to qualify that car 8th quickest. Driver who's raced in Champ Car and was briefly a BAR Formula 1 test driver, European Le Mans, American Le Mans, Formula 3000. His is the black car with the yellow flashes, just heading in towards the shop now. But for Patrick Lamery, who hasn't been at every single round so far this year, he's not had a top 6 finish, he's not even had a top 10 finish as yet, Patrick Lamery. Well, he's now in 6th place. So the rest of the field working their way over the start-finish line. There is Yevgen Sokolovsky, who, despite having been in the gravel trap earlier on, is now running in 18th position, Yevgen Sokolovsky, but he is off the lead lap, I'm afraid to say. And the next car that he wants to try and get his way through and past is Federico Monti, so the cars ahead of him are on a different lap to him, so Yevgen Sokolovsky is away adrift of picking up a place, I'm afraid to say, still. So Martin Dubeck is dropping down through the order here, the number 7 car. He was in 7th place, wasn't he, Martin Dubeck? But his car, don't know where it is out on track, but it is limping its way around the circuit by the look of things, or may well have stopped just into the 2nd sector. So I think that might be on the run down in towards the cleaner chicane and the exit of Lucien Bianchi-Vogt where he might have stopped, because that car is, yeah, dropping down through the order. As for 3rd, well, that's about the biggest amount of daylight we've had between Vittorio Garelli and Mark Goossens. So Garelli doing a good job now of just starting to turn the screw and ask a few more questions of the Ford that sits behind. And I don't think that Mark Goossens has a response at the moment, because he's just dropping that little bit further back. He was 0.3 of a second adrift of Vittorio Garelli at the start of the lap. And let's have a look this time as they come over the start-finish line. There goes Vittorio Garelli, and Mark Goossens is now 1.3 seconds back. Yes, it's a full second gained by Vittorio Garelli, the number 50 Ford, over the number 56 Ford that time through. Chevy from Ford, from Ford, from Ford, from Chevy. That's the top 5, the way things stand at the moment. And it's a Belgian driver that leads, it's a Frenchman that's 2nd, it's an Italian that's there in 3rd, it's another Belgian in 4th place, and another Italian that sits there in 5th at the moment. Leading driver in the junior category is this car here, number 18, which is Giorgio Maggi, Swiss driver. He's under pressure from Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. That is for position. That's for 7th and 8th places, but even if Maggi lost out to the white and light blue Team Bleekie-Molen Ford that's behind, that would still keep him as the leading driver in the junior category at this stage. Because Ulysse Delceau down in 10th place, car number 10, is the 2nd of the junior drivers we have in the field at the moment, and Maggi is, say, running in 7th, 3 places ahead of him. Towards the braking area for the Villeneuve chicane. We are already 11 laps completed. Stinis Longines is on lap number 12 and is leading the PK Car Sport number 11 Chevy by almost 3 seconds now. And Giorgio Maggi. Is he closing up onto the coattails of Patrick Lamotte? Let's just have a quick look. Last lap round for Giorgio Maggi was 1 minute 39.8. No, it's 1 minute 39.7 from Lamotte. So number 18 car isn't really closing, just about holding his own with the next pack of cars ahead. If they start to squabble ever more, Maggi might be in with a shout towards the end of it. Last time through, we also had a new fastest lap of the race, and I'm saying it because it's important, because it sets pole for tomorrow. It was Alan Day. 1 minute 37.75 from Alan Day means that despite the difficulties had in this race and the fact that he's running in 18th place and a lap off the lead, he has now set the fastest lap. And I did say that's what they'll need to do. Get him out there, get a quick lap in, set the lap time for tomorrow. And fantastic stuff from the 3 times champion and the man who's top of the all-time winners list in EuroNASCAR Pro, Alan Day. It's not going to be a win today to add to the 26 he's already got, but pole position is absolutely what he'd be focused on for tomorrow. Albeit, right, okay, I think that lap time might have now disappeared. The time is set, but now did it go purple? We'll have to wait and see. I wonder if maybe he'd run wide and therefore that lap was not given in the end. There were several cars that lost laps in qualifying because of running wide, and it would be the same in the race. You run wide, you would lose that lap time. It wouldn't count for your grid position. So maybe just dial it back a little bit from there, Alan, and then you should hopefully pick up the front row start for tomorrow. This is Nicola Rocca. Now, the number 22 DF1 race heavy is under pressure from Patrick Lamotte. Track limit warnings are coming in for some of the drivers, so a few of them I think are pushing the boundaries of what are deemed as acceptable track limits. There's a briefing given which clearly indicates as to what is and what isn't acceptable, and 4 wheels all beyond the curb line are not acceptable. So Stinis Longines leading. He is 3.2 seconds ahead, or was at the start of that lap. It's gone to 2.9, so Luca Lasser just a little bit quicker that time through from Stinis Longines. Stinis Longines on course for potentially his second EuroNASCAR Pro career win around here at Circuit Zolder. Remember, he did have a win in EuroNASCAR 2 as well, I mentioned. And for Stinis Longines, he has started from pole position in the past as well. He did that in the second of the 2 races last year. He set fastest lap in race number 1, which gave him that pole position in race number 2. He set fastest laps also back in 2019 in the second race as well, did Stinis Longines. Circuit, as we say, that he knows very, very well indeed. Rides the curbs beautifully without taking too much of them through the cleaner chicane. He's on lap number 14 in towards the Villeneuve chicane and is under no real pressure now from Luca Lasser, who is on course for his best result of the season if he can hang on to second place, the Frenchman. Luca won this championship back in 2009 and 2010 when it was called the Race Car Euro Series at the time. And for Luca, this season sees him lie 5th in the overall championship standings. His best result of the year came at Grobnik last time out, where he finished 4th in one of the races. He had a 5th at Most, and he was in the top 6 in one of the races at Valencia, but he's not had a podium so far this season, so that would be a big old smile on the Frenchman's face, I would have thought, if he can hang on to that. And whilst he's not in danger of catching Stinis Longines, he has equally got 4 seconds almost between himself and Vittorio Garelli, so he's in that comfortable position really, Luca Lasser, now the white Ford. He can just bide his time and just watch what's going on in his mirrors, which is still a good fight going on between the 2 Fords of Vittorio Garelli and Mark Goossens. Mark Goossens seems to have gained extra impetus over the course of the last few laps and has just closed up again a little bit more, so it's half a second between the pair of them as they fight over what is the final podium spot. So through Sterrebach Bucht, Observatory Bend in reality is the literal translation of that, up towards through Canal Bocht and then Lucien Bianchi Bocht through the right-hander there, and then a little bit of dust just being raised by Mark Goossens as he looks to try and see what he can do to try and close up on the Hendricks Ford that lies ahead. Hendricks have been the team's champions for the last 2 years running in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. They are currently 1st and 2nd in the team standings coming into this weekend, where you add the points scored by the driver in EuroNASCAR Pro and the points scored in the same car in EuroNASCAR 2 together. Hendricks have been very much the team to beat over the course of the last few seasons with consistency, but they've necessarily always claimed championship titles. They did do with Garelli last year, of course, and Loris Hazelman's in EuroNASCAR Pro the year before. but they seem to put together good driver pairings that are towards the sharp end of each one of their respective divisions. And that certainly could be said for the number 50 this year as well, because Vittorio Garelli, since moving up from EuroNASCAR 2, is already now a EuroNASCAR Pro Race winner. And we've seen just how much Tobias Dauenhauer has been bringing that car towards victory lane in EuroNASCAR 2. So that's why the number 50 has scored so well in the teams category over the course of this season. But is he going to hang on to third place? Because ever getting closer, just edging up all of the time is Mark Goossens. As they came over the start-finish line, what was 0.5 of a second is down to 0.4 of a second between the pair of Fords. The Italian trying to hold off the Belgium at his home NASCAR Grand Prix. And Mark Goossens will be desperate to see if he can get himself up onto the podium spots. For the moment, he's just having to settle in to third place. I'm sure won't try anything silly, but equally as much as the door is there and as an opportunity, of course he's going to grab it. He's a racing driver, that's exactly what he'll want to do. Now, out of Lucia Bianchi, booked up towards the braking area. You can see the nose of the cars dip as they come in towards the braking area for the cleaner chicane. You can see just how much of the road that Vittorio Garelli is using. The right-hand wheels almost off the tarmac and onto the grass as they approach the cleaner chicane to try and straighten up the chicane as much as possible. But for the moment, despite all of the efforts of Mark Goossens, it is not netting a great deal of reward at the moment. And we are now only a couple of laps away from the finish, so Stinus Longines is on lap number 16 currently. And will be heading up to complete lap number 16 very shortly indeed. He leads by 3.2 seconds the number 11 PK Car Sport Chevy from the 64 Speedhouse Ford of Luca Lasser, and this pair here fighting over third and fourth position. The Hendricks Ford of Vittorio Garelli, the Cal Racing Ford of Mark Goossens. Over the years we've had probably more wins for Chevy around this track than Ford. Likes of Tomo Verando won in a Ford, Mark Goossens' win was in a Ford, Fred Gabion's win was in a Ford, I think, some years ago. Had a couple of Toyotas win as well in the past. But Chevy have been the most winningest manufacturer around Circuit Zolder here. There goes Giorgio Maggi. He's still leading the junior category at the moment, Giorgio Maggi, and he is slowly edging up on towards the coattails of Patrick Lamorly, but with just a couple of laps to go, I suspect that he'll just try and hold station and hang on to what would be 7th position for Giorgio, who's had, what, 5 top 10 finishes so far this season. 2 of those were inside the top 6. None of them have been podiums as yet for him, though. And that car there's had a good season as well. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen running in 8th place as things currently stand, but Sebastian's had, what, 3 podiums so far this year at the wheel of the number 69 car, the Ford. So here he goes through the cleaner chicane. Stinus Longines will be very shortly heading on to what will be his final lap of the race. Is there anything Mark Goossens can do to try and haul the 56 Ford onto the podium? I'm not entirely sure that he is. He's been tucked up behind Vittorio Garelli for a good period of time, but for Mark Goossens, who's only had 1 podium finish so far this year, that came at Most. He's had 5 top 10s, 2 of those at Ricardo Tormo, that one at Most I spoke about, and last time out both in Racing Croatia he was in the top 10, moving over to Cal Racing for this weekend. But at the moment, despite knocking on the door of the podium, it's never been open for him because Garelli is just driving so beautifully well and could have a big fistful of points here. Remember, this car here, number 11, led to believe is non-championship scoring, so for Luca Lasser, the white Ford that sits there in 2nd place, might be 2nd on the road, but it would be the points for the win mathematically. And for Vittorio Garelli, he would pick up 34 points for, 35 points for finishing in 2nd place in reality, despite the fact he's 3rd in the race. So in the absence of Loris Hazemans, that is a good points haul potentially for Garelli. But we are now, in theory, on to what should be the last lap of the race. Stinus Longines heading down the straight and in towards the cleaner chicane for the final time. Not using quite as much of the tarmac on the way in, now that he's not under the same pressure. Luca Lasser still there in 2nd place. Vittorio Garelli still under attack from Mark Goossens, who is not giving up hope as yet. Whilst there's still a couple of corners to go, there's always the possibility of a mistake from Vittorio Garelli. We only saw that one little small mistake heading in towards the cleaner chicane where he, I think, misjudged where the right-hand side of the car was and dipped the wheels onto the mud very briefly. But for Mark Goossens, he is pushing. He's as close as he's been for the last few laps. But up towards Boulderbeck Bucht comes Stinus Longines, who is on course for his 2nd win at Zolder. Can Mark Goossens do anything? Now Garelli is going defensive on the way in towards Boulderbeck Bucht. What can he do on the way out and up towards the little kink at Jochen Rindbox? Goossens has got half an opportunity here to maybe steal something on the run in towards the Jackie chicane, but Stinus Longines is going to claim the top honours in round 9 of the championship season. Luca Lasserre is going to finish in 2nd place, so through and over the start-finish line comes Stinus Longines. He claims the win. In 2nd place, Luca Lasserre will claim the points for the win, and in 3rd place, they're side by side heading up towards the start-finish line, and Mark Goossens has made it stick at the final corner. He got through to claim what is 3rd position overall in the race. Congratulations to Mark Goossens, who is back on the podium for the first time since Most, where he finished in 3rd place. Well, he finishes 3rd here with a manoeuvre in the background that we didn't quite see as he got past Vittorio Garelli, who finished in 4th position. Nicola Rocca is already through in 5th place, and Patrick Lamory in 6th. 7th place will be Giorgio Maggi, the leader of the junior category. And then we've seen already Sebastian Bliechimolen, Ulysse Delso and Davide De Lara, who completed the top 10, already take the checkered flag. So the cars heading around the circuit. So that is now a 2nd career win in EuroNASCAR Pro here at Zolder alone for Stinus Longines. That also now gives Stinus his 3rd overall career win in EuroNASCAR Pro. So he will be hugely, hugely pleased with that, and all of the hard work that PK Carsport have done to turn this car around, really, that's been, I'm sure, sitting in the nicest possible way, sitting in the corner of the workshop since the finals of 2020. So to dust the car off, bring it back to a circuit that they have lots of data for. They've run lots of laps around this track in this car before. Circuit that Stinus could probably close his eyes at and drive around and still hit every apex. But yeah, the writing was in the stars, wasn't it, for his return to the series to pick up his 3rd career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. So as the cars head around on their slowing down lap, let's just confirm the results for you. Subject to official confirmation, the win goes the way of Stinus Longines for PK Carsport in his Chevy, and 2nd was the Ford number 64 of Luca Lasserre for Speedhouse. 3rd on the run to the line was Cal Racing number 56, his Ford, Mark Goossens, and 4th was the number 50 Ford of Vittorio Garelli. Chevy number 22, Nicola Rocca, was there in 5th position. And the EuroNASCAR FJ, number 5 car of Patrick Lamory, finished in 6th place. Giorgio Maggi was the leading junior driver home, number 18, in 7th place with his Hendricks Ford. And in 8th place was the number 69 Team Bliechimolen Ford of Sebastian Bliechimolen. Completing the top 9 was number 10, Ulysse Delso. He's the 2nd of the junior drivers home. And then in 10th position, that is where we see the number 89 car of Davide De Lara. Davide is the leading driver for the Challenger Trophy, which is for those amateur drivers that take part in EuroNASCAR Pro. 11th place is Francisco Sidi. In 12th place was Pierre Combeau on his debut in the series, so he finished 2nd of the Challenger Drivers Home, 12th overall, well done to him. 13th was Dario Carzo, 14th was Henry Tuamala, 15th was Nicola Gabossi, 16th was Federico Monti. Alan Day finished 17th in the end, off the lead lap, but we'll see as to where he starts. It should be towards the sharp end of the grid. 18th was Yevgen Sokolovsky, 19th was Leonardo Colavita, and we lost both Martin Dubeck, Gianmarco Ercoli and Ian-Eric Varden with problems throughout that race. So that gives you the results. Stinus Longines is in victory lane. Off comes the window net, and I can imagine there is already a big smile on Stinus's face for what will be his 3rd career victory at the top flight of EuroNASCAR. Remember, he used to race in EuroNASCAR 2. He was a champion in there. He's claimed 9 wins in EuroNASCAR 2 in the past as well. So that is another win that he can add to his NASCAR career tally. And what a start to the weekend for him. As we say, it was confirmed literally just before the race started that he is not championship points scoring this weekend. So whilst he claims the win, he's invisible in terms of the point score. Yes, he'll go to the podium. Yes, he'll pick up the trophy, but he won't pick up any points. The 40 points for the win will go the way of the driver that finished in 2nd place, Luca Lasserre, if my understanding of the way that he's being dealt with over the course of this weekend. And I'm sure Stinus will be aware of that, because he also knows he's not involved in the championship. He doesn't want to affect the championship either. Albeit inadvertently, whatever happened between himself and Alan Day could have a bearing on what would ultimately happen in the championship. So we're just waiting for the thumbs up to get the driver out of the car. There we go. So thumbs up is given, and Stinus Longines is, I think, just soaking up the moment. And is he going to jump out of the car? He's been given the okay that you're okay to to jump out there now. There we go. I don't think he'd heard. So out of the car comes Stinus Longjing. Fantastic stuff done by PK Car Sport, Anthony Kumpen and the team. And that means a lot to Stinus Longjing, who I'm sure is supported here this weekend by his family. He became a father a couple of years ago for the first time. I'm sure Dad Bert is there as well. There is the PK Car Sport team. There's Bert, look, there you go. There's his dad giving him a hug. And Bert is unbelievably focused and fit man as well. I've seen some of the core strength exercises he does online, and crumbs. Bert is, and there's his wife as well. So there we go. I thought the family would all be there. A real team effort by PK Car Sport. Anthony Kumpen and the team will be hugely pleased with the way that has gone, and they will be already starting to focus on the job in hand. What else needs doing over the course of this weekend in EuroNASCAR Pro? So Stinus Longjing down there in victory lane. On will go the pro job hat. He'll have to take that off and put the Hoosier hat on for the interview, I'm sure. And then I'm hoping that Andre Weigold will be down there to perhaps grab a quick word with our first race winner of the weekend, and as we say now, a 3 times EuroNASCAR Pro race winner, Stinus Longjing, who is taking the time and the effort to go round and thank every single team member, because they've all had an impact on what we've just seen out there in round 9 of the championship. So I think we will just await confirmation that we are ready to go with an interview. Not hearing anything from the producer in my ear that we are ready to go with the camera down there, so we'll just hang on and hopefully grab a word with our race winner. And yeah, I can see Andre is down there, cameraman is down there, so let's head you down to victory lane.
We are here with the race winner of EuroNASCAR Pro Round 9, Stinus Longjing. What a comeback. Just talk us through that race.
Yeah, crazy. Especially if you try several years in the pro and have 2 wins, and then after my comeback, first race, a win. Very happy, especially here in Zolder with all the fans. The fans are back. It's good to see them. Sponsors are back. And then entering with a win, it's good.
I have to ask, did you taste blood for a full-time comeback?
Yeah, for sure. Even when I'm not driving, I taste the blood. So yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So there we go, a pat on the back from Dad for Stinus Longjing. And is that Alan Day, I think, has just come up to have a chat to him. I think couldn't quite see what happened. It'd be unfair of me to try and understand what happened there, but clearly Alan Day and Stinus Longjing just chatting through that point of the race where the two of them went into the chicane side by side, and it's difficult to do. For 2 cars to go through there side by side is pretty much impossible, and all it takes is one car to leap off a curb and head in towards another car. So I think there's conversations going on between the pair of them. Understandably, Stinus Longjing will be disappointed. Alan Day was his teammate last year as well. They were both racing for PK Car Sport, so I think they will probably have a chat about it. And they might not necessarily agree, but just the body language at the moment tells you that everything is, yeah, all right. Well, as good as it can be. The smiles from Alan Day, and there we go, look, a hug and maybe an apology there. Who knows? Who knows? It's not for me to worry about. So, yeah, nice to see that. Yeah, that they are still chatting away and discussing the finer points of the race. And there's Stinus's family. Look, so there you go. There's wife. There's his child as well. And yeah, great to see that the family are all here supporting. So waiting confirmation as to whether we will get podiums that we'll be able to bring you live on the stream. As I mentioned earlier on, if you didn't tune in right at the start of the program, because the support races are also being broadcast live as well, either out on the internet or to the spectators at the venue, it does mean that if the next support race is coming up, we will have to kill the stream either before the podiums or even midway through. We apologize in advance for that, but the circuit, the next race. So stop the stream early. Still the conversations going on down there as well. Stinus Longjing, quite rightly so, looking very happy with his efforts in the first race of the weekend. I saw Luca Lassay, you could just see him right in the corner of the shot there on the right hand side of the screen, just the white overalls, just I think chatting away as well. He came up to congratulate Stinus on his victory. And I think Stinus also, yeah, getting some photographs taken with some of the fans that are down there in victory lane as well. We will have 3 separate podium presentations that we'll be making. We'll be making the podium presentations for the top 3 overall in the race, which should be Stinus Longines, Luca Lasser and Mark Goossens. We will have the top 3 in the junior category, which should be Giorgio Maggi, Ulysse Delso and Leonardo Colavita. And we'll have the top 3 in the Challenger Trophy as well, Davide Dallara, Pierre Combo and Dario Carzo. But I think we've got another interview, so we'll head back down in towards the pit lane and victory lane.
I'm here with Luca Lasser, driver of the 64 Speedhouse car. Luca, I think it was a solid race for you, right?
Yeah, it's like a win. You know, okay, Stinus is very, very fast guy here. It's his home, so I mean he tests every week here. So, so it's complicated to fight with him. The PK Car Sports is also a good car, so I'm really, really happy. We did an amazing job since the beginning of the season, and now it's the result of your work. So the big thank you to my mechanics, especially Greg, since the beginning of the season, and all my friends. You know, it's like a small family, but we will have an announce tomorrow, you know, for the next season, for the new drivers and a new project. So I'm very, very happy, and it's a very good result, a strong result for us.
You have different roles in your team. You are the engineer, you are the team boss, you are the driver. How hard is it to do this all stuff as one person?
Yeah, I did all my setup and I sent to my mechanics. I control all, I check all. So I mean, if you give just one car to mechanics at each driver, we will win the race. Me or another? I don't know. You know.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Great to hear from Luca Lasser, say a double former champion in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, or its predecessor, the Race Car Euro Series, having claimed that championship for the first time in 2009 and then repeated it in 2010. One of a few back-to-back champions we've had over the years as well, with the likes of Ander Villarinho, who was back-to-back champion in 2012 and 2013, and Alan Day, who did it in 2016 and 2017 and 2018 was Alan Day's championship season. I thought Anthony Cooper had, but no, there was a year gap between his few. So it looks as though the drivers are heading towards the podium. So I'm hoping we'll be able to bring you these podium presentations and not have to slip away, so that the local fans can catch up on the next racing action that will be coming up here. Of course, we'll be back live with our EuroNASCAR 2 race later on, but there's a full support programme here locally at the race circuit, which will also be being broadcast. So I'm hoping we'll get through these podiums before the next race, but as we say, apologies in advance if we have to clip the podium short. They will continue, but just locally, not on our stream. So everybody else is being scooped up. You can see more and more drivers heading towards the podium. The VIPs are there as well, with all the various presenters who will be presenting our trophies, and then we will hopefully get a nice view of what's going on down there on the podium. There it is. So the podium is beautifully dressed. We've got our pom-pom dancers there as well, and then with the champagne and trophies, we should see the top 3 drivers overall in that race heading onto the podium to start with, and that will be, as I say, the first of 3 podium presentations for this EuroNASCAR Pro race. The top 3 overall, the top 3 in the junior category, which is those drivers aged under 25 at the beginning of the season, and the top 3 in the Challenger Trophy, which is for amateur drivers graded either silver or bronze that enter EuroNASCAR Pro. So the final few VIPs will be heading up onto the podium shortly, and then the drivers will be introduced up there, and we'll see as to what order the podiums are being done. No audio I'm getting from this one, but up onto 3rd position. There goes Mark Goossens. So the top 3 overall. Mark Goossens heads up onto the podium. The Goose, as he's known. In 2nd place, Luca Lasser. He looks pleased with that, and rightly so for Luca. His first podium of the season. But the top step of the podium, his return to the series and career win number 3 goes the way of a delighted Stinus Longines. So Stinus Longines up onto the podium, and he will be shaking the hands of the drivers either side of him, and I think now it is also the team representative for PK Car Sport that's there, and now it's time for the national anthem of the winning driver. So there we go, national anthems have been played, and we can now look forward to the trophies being presented. And as I say, we'll try and maybe at least bring you this podium. I know that the next race, one of the historic car races, is already on its formation lap. So trophy being presented to Mark Goossens. Congratulations for him finishing in 3rd position. Well done. That is another podium spot for him. So that's 2 podiums for the season so far. Luca Lasser picks up his first podium trophy of the season, finishing in 2nd position. And the winner's trophy, his return to the series, goes the way of a delighted Stinus Longji. Might not be scoring championship points this weekend, but that's not going to wipe that smile from his face for an hour or so. So with the trophies having been presented, we'll get the photographs taken with all of the drivers up on the top step of the podium. And then, including our representative from PK Carsport, happy the podium after round 9 of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. So with the top 3 drivers vacating the podium, no confirmation as yet, so we'll stick with the pictures that I'm seeing, which hopefully will then bring us another podium presentation. As I say, if we need to get out because the next race is about to start, that's not a problem. We will just deal with that. But I think, till I hear otherwise, we'll stick with the pictures that we're getting, which suggests that we will then be getting another podium presentation coming up for the junior category or the challenger category. We'll see who we get out on the podium, and then we'll know the order that they are heading up with. And then once we've got through our 2nd and our 3rd podiums, then we'll be saying goodbye to you before we rejoin you for the EuroNASCAR 2 race, their 9th round of the championship, in a few moments' time. But still a big crowd assembled down there at the podium here at Circuit Zolder, and still several drivers that will be making their way up onto the podium. Quite unusual, really, where we don't get one driver that's up on at least more than one podium. But yeah, we've got 9 different drivers. Each time a driver goes to the podium, they won't go back. Usually you get maybe one that's either a challenger or a junior in the top 3 that goes back up again. But no, not on this occasion. The leading junior driver was only, something like 8th or 9th. So up onto the podium, we have now got our junior drivers. Leonardo Colavita, that looks like, with Ulysse Delso. Is it? No, that's the challengers we've got. Right, that's the challengers. So that is Dario Carzo that's gone up, Pierre Combeau, and at the top step of the podium is Davide Lara. So those are our challenger drivers on the podium. Now that the camera's zoomed in, we can pick up on exactly who they are. Well, they've all got sunglasses on and hats. Not the easiest. So there we go, trophies being presented. First of all to Dario Carzo, then to Pierre Combeau, who makes his debut in the series. I've got to say, has done a stunning job. And Davide De Lara up onto the top step of the podium. That's exactly what Davide De Lara needed. He lies 15th in the standings, was 3rd in the championship for the challenger drivers. But with Henry Tuamala and Yevgen Sokolovsky, who were 2nd and 1st in the challenger trophy, both running into problems in that race. That's closed the gap a little bit now as far as Davide De Lara is concerned. And our 3rd podium shouldn't take long to rattle through either, and that will be for the junior drivers who will be making their way up onto the podium. And that should see Leonardo Colavita, Ulysse Delso and Giorgio Maggi heading up onto the podium in just a few moments' time. So podium will just be redressed with new trophies, and then once we get the drivers up onto the podium, we'll introduce them, we'll let the trophies be presented, and then we will bid you farewell. So it looks as though our first of our drivers just heading out onto the podium there. So there is Leonardo Colavita up onto the podium. Congratulations to Leonardo Colavita. Great to see him. He's just 16 years of age, Leonardo Colavita. Ulysse Delso, who has worked his way through the ranks and is still only 24 years of age, finishes as 2nd of the junior drivers home. And the top step of the podium, shaking the hands of his fellow competitors, is the Swiss driver for Hendrix Motorsport. Giorgio Maggi finishes on the top step of the junior trophy podium. So the trophy's about to be presented. First of all, to our 3rd place driver in the junior category, Leonardo Colavita receives his award. 2nd place trophy going the way of Ulysse Delso, who is about to pick up 2nd spot in the junior category. And the top step of the podium and the win in the junior trophy goes the way of Giorgio Maggi, who is going to pick up the winner's trophy for round 9 of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR Pro Division. So shaking the hands of the VIPs, hold the trophies aloft. We'll gather them all up on the top step as well. Good points haul that is for Giorgio Maggi. And all of the drivers getting scooped up onto the top step. We get the final photographs taken, and we will bid you farewell, I'm afraid. So that is it for the moment from Circuit Zolder as our final drivers leave. But don't forget, we've got the EuroNASCAR 2 race coming up later on over the course of the day. If you want to tune in for that, the stream goes live at 16:50 Central European time. That's 15:50 if you're watching in the UK. And of course, if you've joined us from America, it's still going to be very early in the morning for you at Eastern Daylight Time. But from myself, the whole EuroNASCAR team here at Circuit Zolder, we will catch up with you later on today. Until then, it's goodbye.